Money and You is sponsored by Elise Chocolate, the almondy toffee chocolate.
Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Richard Cole. I'm the host for you today for Money and You. Our show is about how to start and run a business, and also we showcase businesses, the old one and the new ones. So if you have a suggestion, if you want to come on and be interviewed by me, please send me an email and I'll be happy to talk to you. And now, for the previous episodes, if you want to catch the previous episodes of ours, you can go to youtube.com/Cole Money and You, K-O Money and You. And for more information, you can go on the website colecashflow4u.ca. And our communication, our email is colemoneyandyou, K-O again, @gmail.com. And today I want to bring a new segment into this program. I call it the Money Tidbits, where I'm going to talk about, the latest that affects the financial world, that affects you, the business, and talk about, tips, how do you make more money in your business, and what's the art of war has to do with business, the 36 strategies, how can they help you to do more business. And today, the Money and Tidbits topic I'm going to talk about is the Vancouver real estate market, up or down? I think a lot of people are interested in that. So to start with, I like to say there are set methods to analyzing any investment markets, like stock exchange and all that. They have their ways, and they call it the technical analysis and the fundamental analysis. Technical analysis basically looking at the price of houses, and also looking at the trend, how many sales there are. So they're looking at those two, and they analyze it, and they base their buy-sell on that graph. And the other method is called the fundamental analysis. Now this is to go really looking into the company, who's running it and all that. And for the real estate market, we have to look at the history of Vancouver. How is Vancouver being formed, but not going that far back, So I would like to start with the 60s, okay? And in the 60s, the Canadian immigration law opened up and allowed students to come in here to study. So lots of students, like myself, came over and studied in high schools and universities. And then that's kind of set the fundamental. And then the next thing is that, 1997, Hong Kong take over by the Chinese government. People are fearful. So they start the first wave of immigration to Vancouver. And they brought with them money. So they start buying real estate in here. And that really spiked up the market. Then Expo 86. Wow, it opened up the whole of Vancouver. Everybody see Vancouver. I mean, I call it heaven on earth, right? I mean, you look around and you see the beauty of Vancouver, and people really like it. And foreign investors start to come and invest in the real estate, thinking maybe one day they'll stay here and enjoy, this ambience place, And so the real estate markets kind of, go up a bit, and, the price got supported. And then in the 90s, the early 90s, the Hong Kong second wave immigrants are coming in because 97 is getting close. So they want to establish themselves in Vancouver first. And then the Taiwanese, because they're fearful of the Chinese takeover, they start to immigrate. So now you see that these two people from these two countries are coming in and starting to invest in the real estate. And again, there goes up the price again. And in the 21st century, China opened up the door and created a lot of millionaires. And again, they immigrated to Canada, brought with them lots of money. And they also put their money in real estate again. So you can see nowadays, houses are selling for over $1 million, right? And in Richmond, they're selling for $2 million, So these are what I call the spikes. And because of the exposure of Vancouver being established as such a nice city, foreign investors again start to invest in Canada. This is a very safe place, so people invest. And they don't care about prices, right? Because they want to park the money here. They don't want to bring it back to their old country because it might be, upheaval or whatever, or political instability. So if you drive around in Vancouver at night, you can see all the unlit houses. That proves to you that a lot of the houses are owned by investors. Like, I look at it and say, okay, is Vancouver prices going to go down with all these, situations happening? I mean, lately they're saying that the number of sales are going down, but the prices are not really going down that much. So I look at it and I say, is it going to be as drastic as the States where they sometimes lose more than 50%, Because of these situations where people are putting the money in a safe haven kind of thing, what I find that the price is not going to go down. Sorry to tell a lot of people. My projection is about 20 to 25% at most, right? And the reason why that I projected that figure is because, first of all, there are investors, real estate investors, that leverage their investment. Sometimes the rent is not enough to cover the mortgage payments. So they have that fear. And they also have the fear that maybe interest rate is going to go up because of the instability of the international market. The inflation may come in and all that. So they have that fear. And foreign investors, they may need to get their money out to support their investments in their own country, their business. So they may be withdrawing. So these two factors may cause this drop. Otherwise, Vancouver house prices are going to be very steady. So the conclusion is that I feel for the next little while, it's going to be a kind of a buyer's market, but it's not going to be that big a deal, that big a drop. Okay, I welcome any suggestions you have. Please write to me. And today, I have Mr. Peter Byrne of Castle Paintings Limited coming over to tell us about how he ran his business, how he started his business. And he's a Vancouverite, right?
Yeah, pretty much all my life.
Welcome, Peter.
Thanks, Richard.
Yeah. So, tell me something about your, motivation to start your own business.
You need groceries.
Right.
So if you need groceries, you've got a family to raise, you have to have a source of income.
Right. But I can work, right?
Well, you could work, but some people tend to be a bit more independent. They don't like working for someone else, or they want to call the shots. They want to be in charge. So if that's the case, a lot of times that person will try to start their own business.
Okay. Any other reason?
Well, the other reason for starting your own business versus having a job is that if you have a job, you have sort of a guaranteed level of income and a certain amount of security, but you can only advance so far. If you start your own business, you probably at the beginning make less than you would, working, selling burgers or something. But as time goes by, you're kind of building equity, what they call sweat equity, into the business. So if you're looking at creating security for yourself, you can create security by building a business. And over the years, it becomes more valuable, and hopefully your salary and what you draw from the business improves.
Great. It's like a wealth building program, I guess.
It's like a wealth building program. Well, you hope so.
Good. So, tell me something about your business. What kind of business is it?
Well, it's basically a residential and commercial architectural painting business, which sounds fancy. It means buildings. Oh. So we paint buildings.
I see.
So if it's a house or if it's an office or an industrial building, whatever it is, we paint it if it's got walls.
Right. So when did you start that?
We started in 1997. And the way it started is I didn't know anything about house painting when I went into this business. But I knew that I needed groceries.
Right.
So we started the business with a friend of mine who was a good painter, good house painter, but not the best businessman. And I said, if you know a lot about painting, I can help with the marketing and the sales and keep the business going and pay the bills and do all of that. So that's how it started. And then the business kind of grew. And then eventually the partnership, we split up several years ago, just because we both thought it would be better for us financially rather than trying to make the money we needed out of the same business. 2 hands in the till is worse than 1 hand in the till. So, and it's gone very well ever since.
I see. So what are you doing now, with your business? Like how are you running it now?
Well, we've got it into a phase. It's now, we started in 97, so it's 15 years we've been in business, and it's not into a big growth period. I'm not looking to, I'm 55 years old. I was told about Freedom 55. I don't know, it might be 56 or 57. but I'm right now it's kind of at a fairly stable level. There's a little bit of growth each year. And so this is what we're doing. We're not looking at a big expansion. And it's a little bit different, I think, than a lot of, there's lots of small tradesmen that have a business that a guy's experienced as a carpenter, an electrician, or, some particular trade, and he can go out and work for himself. But there's a difficulty with that in terms of how you would expand. And the difficulty is this guy gets up in the morning and he goes out and he goes to, if he's a painter, he goes to the paint store and he buys the paint. He goes to the job site and he meets with the customer and he works all day. At some point he's got to eat, and at some point he's got to have dinner.
Right.
And he would maybe like to see his family once in a while. So if he's now also the salesman and he's the bookkeeper and he's doing all these other jobs, it's very difficult for those guys to expand. So we have a little bit different approach.
Sounds like a small businessman is a jack of all trades, eh?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah,
He's like
hard.
a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, so you're kind of like a part-time CEO for them, eh?
I guess it is. I guess it is. The way we work that is different than some other similar businesses is the guys that work for me have all run their own businesses before. And we hire them as a partner rather than as an employee, like a contractor. So he goes out on the job and he's fully responsible for the customer satisfaction on that job. He has to handle all of the logistics,
Yes.
deal with the customer, keep them happy, deal with the problems that come up on the job. And at the end of the job, it's when the customer is satisfied, that's when they pay the bill and that's when the guy gets paid. So for him, he has a lot of independence in how he does it.
Right.
For us, it works out very well because he has his independence and he doesn't have to be babysat.
Great. Okay, we got to take a break right now.
Sure.
And please, don't change your dial. Come back and watch us.
Money and You is sponsored by Elise Chocolate, the almondy toffee chocolate.
Hi again, we're back with Peter Byrne, the CEO, the CFO of Castle Paintings
And the
Limited.
janitor.
And the janitor, yeah, don't forget that. So we were talking about how he runs his business. So did you encounter any difficulties?
No, everything has gone perfally smoothly from the
come
very
on.
first day we started, Richard.
Oh, come on.
There are
For real?
tons of difficulties. I would say that the biggest difficulty we've had over the years is actually the personnel.
Really?
Yeah, people talk about there's unemployment and, guys are saying, oh, I can't get a job. But getting somebody who can go out and work and do all the parts of the job, manage his own time and be professional in his dealings with a customer and everything else, it's not easy. So we tried so many different things before we settled on the system we have now. We had guys that we paid by the hour, but then if you have guys paid by the hour, sometimes you have to have another guy who's there on the job who just has to keep them moving. If the guy's paid for being there for an hour, whether he does a lot of work or not, doesn't
Right.
change anything. So That would probably be the biggest area. If I had to name one thing that I found difficult, getting the personnel. And so we now have really motivated guys who love their job, and they're great with the customers. We get all kinds of testimonials, and people can see it on our website. And it's just, it's going very well. The other aspect, of course, with a small business is managing your money. And that's where a lot of guys fall down.
Right. And some of your partners, are they handling the money?
Well, how they handle their own personal money and pay for those groceries, that's up to them. But I mean, in terms of the invoice and everything for the business, we look after it in the office, and we make sure that all the insurance is paid up and the workers' compensation. So, you know, everybody's covered, the customer's covered, and the employees are covered, and it works out well.
Very good system. Very good. So, you didn't make any mistakes, right?
Tons of mistakes.
Oh,
Tons of mistakes, Richard.
come on.
In fact, probably the best way to learn about a business is get into business and start making mistakes. Those are expensive lessons, but they really stick with you.
I guess you really have to correct it.
Yeah, you know, what we did, and it was something that I learned early on, is every time something happened in the business and it went wrong, what we would do is, after I'd figured out how do we solve this problem, I would write it down.
Oh.
And I would make a company policy. Don't do this anymore. You know, when the customer gets mad, don't make the customer mad, or fix the problem, or whatever, or however we would solve that problem. And then it all goes in a book. And then now we have a manual, so that, you know, I could almost take the manual and hand it to somebody and say,
wow,
this is how to run the business. So it's a good tool, and every business is a little bit different, and you can learn things from books.
Right.
And you can learn things from TV shows like this one.
Yes.
But in the end, you have to, you actually have to experience things, learn it, do it for yourself, and figure out ways to solve the problems. I think that's really what makes a businessman, is he's a problem solver.
Right. What I would like to let you know, okay, remember this, that policy is very important. You know, that's where you're going to save money and you're going to make money. So make sure that you have all these mistakes that you made and the solutions you have as part of your policy. Wow, that is a very good job
Thanks.
you did.
Yeah.
Very good suggestions as well for the public. Yeah.
And all free.
And all free.
I'm not charging anything for
No.
these suggestions.
No, I thought I have to pay you. No,
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, it's fun. Okay, so where do you find answers to all these things? You know.
Well, I've read a lot of books. You know, apart from my own mistakes, I've also learned from other people's mistakes. And there's lots of things that you can read. I met a guy one time, was actually a billionaire. He's not very well known, but he developed a system of robotics that is used in hospitals all around the world. And he's always been an entrepreneur. And of course, once you become a billionaire, everything you say, people listen to.
True.
When you're poor, nobody listens to you. But
That's
when you're a
right.
billionaire, you know, you can tell people what to eat for lunch, and that's where they go for lunch.
Yeah.
So, but he gave me some good advice, and he recommended a few books that he'd read. And one of them was a book by Howard Schultz, who started Starbucks. He's written a couple of books. It was the first one. It was called Pour Your Heart Into It. He also recommended a book that was written in 1935. And it was the guy who was the founder of General Motors. I've forgotten the guy's name.
Sloan, is it?
Sloan, Alfred P. Sloan. That's right.
Right.
So I read that book. I've read lots of books. I studied the Hubbard method of business management, which is very useful. And yeah, you take these things and then you look at what you do in your business. And like I say, everything is a little bit different. And you find, how does this apply in my business and how can I use it? And it's really simple. You know, when you get into all these books about, build your business or become wealthy or anything, self-help, whatever, there's lots of people who want to improve themselves. The way to find out if you're onto something good is, does it work?
Right.
You know, is this providing you with answers that actually, they're tangible, you apply it in your life and something happens. And so I've also run into a bunch of crappy books that were useless, that if I'd done what they said, we would have been in big trouble.
Well, how can you tell, you know? Do you try
Well,
it
that's
out,
what
or-
I say. You take whatever it says in the book, you know, and it says, well, do this. And, you know, I have a friend who's a business consultant, and he used to be a veterinarian. And when he was a veterinarian, he was always looking for answers on how to improve his veterinarian business. And he went to see his banker, and his banker said, well, I don't know, I can either lend you money or call your loan. And he went to see his accountant, and his accountant says, well, all I can do is tell you how to save money on taxes. And, you know, he came across all kinds of goofy tips. So obviously, it either works or it doesn't. And you will see. Things will improve in your business. You'll make more money. Your customers are happier. A good business tip is going to improve the business.
Right.
It's going to make things better for the workers in the business, and the customers are going to benefit.
Great.
Yeah,
So these are the 3 books that you recommend.
totally.
Great. Now,
Yeah.
remember that. Okay? One is Sloan, the one that started the General Motors. The other is Mr. Schultz. Schultz that started Starbucks. And the third one is the Hubbard management technique, right?
Yeah, Hubbard method.
Yeah. So see if you can find them, or go to your library, right? Or go on the internet and search for it. The internet is great nowadays, isn't it?
You can find anything.
Yeah, you can find
You find
anything.
things you don't want.
Oh my God, I know. So I also understand you belong to some kind of association, the Shell Buxby thing.
Shell Buzzy.
Oh, Shell Buxby. What is that all about?
Well,
what does
Shell-
that do for you?
To sort of condense it, Shell Buzzy, for people who don't know, started out, he owned home improvement lumberyard in Ontario, and he moved out here, and he gradually got into the media through his knowledge of renovations and home improvements. And so today he's a fairly respected advisor on any subject of home improvements. And he would always get questions, do you know a good plumber? Do you know a good electrician? Do you know a good painter? He would get these different kinds of questions. And so what would happen is he thought, I'm giving out all these advice to people. I should have some way to qualify these guys. So he formed this network, Shell Buzzy's House Smart Referral Network, which you can also find their website. And what it does, it's basically members. He's pre-qualified, and when people call now for Shell Buzzy, he has an office and he has a staff, and they will refer people's, you know, they call with their question, this is my problem. He'll refer them to the right trade.
So what do you find that you're so different from your competitors? Because so many house painters. What makes you stand out? What makes people want to call you and ask you to paint a house?
We get a lot of referral business, and one of the things, I really believe strongly in the method that we've settled on, how our business structure is in terms of our painters being independent contractors. And because of that, these guys go in with the same attitude that they would go in as if it was their job and their customer, which essentially it is. So there's a high level of responsibility. There is a lot more caring. The other thing that we do too, you know, there's a certain amount of skill to be a good house painter. You can't spill paint, and you know, there's things you have to learn about how to prepare the walls, but half of it is communication. You go into somebody's house, you go in to paint somebody's bedroom, you're moving all their furniture, and they've got the drawers and underwear and everything. It's kind of, you're kind of mixed up in the person's life, and if they don't like you or trust you, it's not really going to be that pleasant of an experience for them. So the guys that go in that work for us, they're good, and a lot of people will write in and they will say, we really like the paint job, but we really like the attitude from the painter.
So the most important thing you say still is that communication, right?
Yeah, I
Talking to
figure that
people.
with my guys, it's about 50% painting skill and 50% communication skill.
That important.
Yeah.
Wow. So remember that communication, right? So are you satisfied with what you have done?
I'm really happy with it. It's turned out really well. My wife works with me in the business. She does some of the bookkeeping.
Wow. Family business.
Yeah, my daughter has taken on a role of like customer loyalty, so she keeps in touch with our customers and keeps them up to date with a newsletter. And it builds something. You know, your program is about money and people and wealth building and financial security. And if you can make it happen in business, it is the beginning of a legacy. You can leave your kids some money in the bank, but they can spend that really fast.
That's right.
And if you can actually develop something that they can participate in, and it creates something, because it's so much work to start a business. Once it's got momentum, you really, it's something, a business that's been around 50 or 100 years.
Right.
They've got a lot of customers, a lot of know-how, a lot of momentum, and to just have that business end after that generation, it's a terrible waste.
It is, yeah.
So
Horrible.
yeah.
Yeah. So what's your goal? Retire at 56?
No. The way it's going right now, I think as long as I can walk and talk and type on a computer, I can keep doing this forever. And you know, I have people that do a lot of the functions for me if I go away on vacation. One of my guys does the sales and looks after the customers. And it's, you know, I'm happy because I can keep doing this for the rest of my life. I can do it for a few hours a day if that's all I'm up for. And still have lots of time to play and pursue other interests. So very happy with how it's all turned out. There are many times, if you'd interviewed me 10 years ago, you would have got very different answers. But today things are going well, it's successful, and it's a good time for me. And you know, so it's definitely an opportunity, but people have to realize they've got to put in that hard work with a business. You're not going to see the payoff right away.
Right.
It's going to come at the back end of the business, like any investment. And you know, finally, if that sounds like too much work or it scares you, you probably should have a job and you'll be happier. You know, you don't want your hair to all fall out just because you're worried about a business every night.
Thank you so much, Peter.
You're very welcome,
Of
Richard.
all your word of wisdoms. Now, people, remember. Our show is to show you how to do it. Like, he has given a lot of word of wisdoms for us today. And, you know, take into it, use it for your own good, right? And this is how you can start a business. And don't be afraid. Try it on a part-time basis and then go into full-time if you want to, right? But don't stop trying, because we need you. We need small businesses in this society, because small businesses are the growth, are the employers. So thank you so much. Remember to come back. Remember to watch us. Thank you.